Hello everyone, it's Daniel here from Airfrest. Hope you're all doing well. Let's talk about Rolls-Royce. So I'm going to put a link in the description for you to check out the article. It's a little bit of an old article, but I wanted to discuss this since we have CPI inflation report coming out tomorrow. It's very interesting to see that Rolls-Royce posted higher than expected sales, beat expectation of sales about 8% higher for last year, surpassing more than 6,000 cars, the Rolls-Royce cars, last year, making a record number. And if you look at the stock is up basically 25% over the last 6 months, and you're wondering why, what's going on, right? Rolls-Royce, they're beating sales. Wealthy are still going out spending, or did spend in 2022 when we had a year of a market sell-off, when inflation was going up. What's going on? I thought that, higher inflation's got everybody affected, especially the wealthy. Well, the wealthy has been spending more. Rolls-Royce has reported higher than expected sales, and they say that their higher sales, a big contributor for their higher sales, was the US, the United States. The second contributor was China, although they've seen a slight decline in sales in China, but the biggest contributor was the United States. So what's going on? Why are you seeing Rolls-Royce posting higher than expected sales? Does the wealthy still have money? The rich, are they still getting richer? Why are we not seeing the spending being affected all over the place? Yes, you're seeing certain percentile of people, the lower income, middle income, and so on being affected, and sure, higher income as well. But shouldn't Rolls-Royce, being a luxury car, have bad earnings? And it didn't. So here's the biggest thing. It's not that, the wealthy is so much better and etc., etc. It has to do, if you go back in time, in 2020, when all the QE and money printing that we did, all the money printing that we did in the QE, all that money for anyone who owned businesses, aka a lot of the wealthy people who do own businesses, they got a lot of this, not just the stimulus check, but they basically got a lot of this bailout money, this free money that the government gave, that the central bank basically printed. And they got this money, and an obscene amount of this money during the COVID pandemic, and they really took advantage of the amount of money printing that happened during that time, more than in history. And we're seeing the effects of it still play out in 2022, and even, you could say, maybe in 2023. Because there was so much money printing, because we printed so much money, and the businesses out there had access to this, basically free money, we're still seeing a lot of these wealthy people utilize that excess cash into the luxury market, into buying Rolls-Royce, into still, flying first class, taking their families out first class on airplanes, and going and taking those exotic vacations, because they really utilized that and took advantage of it. And if you notice that the biggest contributor to Rolls-Royce's sales was the United States, is because the US was the biggest when it came to the QE that they've done when you compare it to other Western countries out there. So all this money printing is still lingering on today, which is contributing to certain prices still being elevated, especially in, maybe, for example, Rolls-Royce and so on. But it's still something to monitor, because that would mean that the effects of inflation. Now, I'm not saying that, Rolls-Royce and these luxury goods are a big play in CPI, but what I'm saying is the fact that the money is still there, and the fact that spending is still happening, especially among the wealthy people, you can expect inflation and CPI to still be elevated for some time until the pain has been seen all over the income groups, including the wealthy. So if for example, if you have a business where all of a sudden, in 2020 and 2021, you took advantage and you got an increase in your, cash flow of couple $1 million, $5 million, and you have this excess cash, even though maybe your business is not performing as well as before because of, the circumstances we're seeing with higher inflation. The fact that the wealthy people have this excess millions of dollars of cash just goes to show that the effect of the QE and the money printing is still having its effect right now, and it's taking its time. So until that gets dried up, until pain is really felt, you could speculate that CPI inflation may not reach to that 2% target that the Fed is hoping for this year, may take its time, which may mean that the reaction, the counter reaction from the Fed, from the central bank, and even other central banks around the world. Let's not forget also Bank of Canada, which saw a really strong jobs report, and they basically came out and said, we're pausing right now. Now, Bank of Canada also said that it doesn't mean that we've completely 100% paused. We're pausing for now until the data tells us that we need to hike again, right? So even though some central banks have already initiated this pause, it doesn't necessarily mean that rates still can't go higher and the tightening still can't go higher. Especially when you look at previous histories of how inflation has played out in the 1970s, 1980s, we saw kind of two waves. The first wave, the second wave, and it required central banks to fight that second wave to go against and what people were thinking that rates were going to come down, but they actually went higher than expected, which would really create that shock, which would wipe out probably most of the QE, the printing, the money that majority of the people still have, and bring that tightening conditions to stop people from spending so that they could hopefully reach the goal of bringing inflation down to 2%. The only question is, are we going to see it this year? Are we going to see it next year? We don't really know in terms of the time frame. We're really data dependent. We're Fed dependent, central bank dependent. All of these things matter. But it's very interesting to see, according to this article, that you still have spending happening in certain areas, and you still see the wealthy individuals going out, not because they're special, right? People may think, oh, the wealthy is special, so, that's why they're still spending so much. They also feel pain, but the fact that they did so much printing, the central bank did so much printing, the government sent out so much money, and the people who benefited the most were the businesses, and because they got all this free money that's just sitting on the side, you're still seeing the effects of it where they're going out and spending because it was just a humongous amount of injection of money into the economy, and it will take its time for it to fully stop. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button and the bell icon to be notified on the next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers. Bye.